Board meeting, regular meeting of January 22nd, 2024. Roll call, please.
Thorstensen.
Here.
Woodside. Ross. Garner. Here. O'Brien.
Present.
Balmas.
Present.
5 present, 1 absent.
Now stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everybody. It's a proud night, so thanks for coming. The first item on the agenda is the approval of consent agenda as presented. Is there a motion?
Second.
Motion by trustee Balmas, second by trustee O'Brien. Roll call, please.
Balmas.
Aye.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
Ross.
Aye.
Garner. Aye. O'Brien.
Aye.
5 aye.
Motion carries. Pat?
Item number 1, approval of the minutes from the January 8th, 2024 meeting. Item number 2, approval of ordinance 2024-05, removing 1 Class 1 liquor license by amending Section 6-56 of Article 2 of Chapter 6 of the Gurnee Municipal Code entitled Alcoholic Beverages. Item number 3, approval of requests from Public Works Department to purchase 10 fire hydrant assemblies from the low bidder, Corn, Maine, at a cost of $45,026. Item number 4, approval of request to allow Economic Development Director Ellen Dean to attend the Innovating Commerce Serving Community Retail Real Estate Convention in Las Vegas, Nevada from May 19th through the 21st, 2024 at a cost not to exceed $2,200. Item number 5, approval of request to dispose of certain police department documents as authorized by the State of Illinois Local Records Commission. Item number 6, approval of setting a bid date of March 18th, 2024 for the 2024 street maintenance program. Item number 7, approval of payroll for period ending January 12th, 2024 in the amount of $997,670.13. Item number 8, approval of bills for period ending January 22nd, 2024 in the amount of $2,572,968.69.
Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Motion by trustee Garner, second by trustee Ross. Roll call, please.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
Ross. Garner. Aye. O'Brien.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
5 aye.
Motion carries. On to petitions and communications. The reason why most of you are here tonight, I suspect. So, Chief, you want to come on down? It's a proud night, as I said, and it's an opportunity for us to recognize those to be promoted, and just all I need to say for right now. So, Chief, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mutes, Village Board, thank you again for giving us the opportunity to come before you and recognize some of our officers. Tonight we get to do some promotions. I know that I have a reputation of talking for a little bit, but one of the things that I realized is we've had the pleasure of swearing in 36 new officers in the last 27 months. And during each one of those swearing-in processes, I talk to the family and friends, those that are present, about what that entails, the hiring process for new police officers. I've now had the honor of swearing in 4 new sergeants since becoming chief, and I've never really discussed what the process is for an officer to test and become a sergeant. So I wanted to kind of take a little bit of time tonight to talk to you a little bit about that. So basically, it's a 4+ month process. It starts with a notice that goes out to the department. That notice comes from the office of the chief, but through civil service. And we notify all the employees that we are conducting a sergeant's promotional test. With that, it gives them basically 4 months to prepare for what's going to be on that written exam. And it varies. We hire a company that comes in and manages the test. And what that information is varies a little bit. But I kind of want to go through some of that. And before I can do that, I need to put my glasses on, so I apologize ahead of time. Just so you have an idea what the testing process looks like. Again, so the notice goes out, they submit a letter of interest, they submit a resume. included in that resume is typically some form of an essay. The question changes each year, but I ask each person a different question and ask them to submit some form of an essay response. And then we host an orientation session. And we bring the company, a representative from the company in. They come in, they meet with the applicants, and they talk to them about what the process is going to look like. The first test is a written exam. And the written exam is worth 20% of their score, and it measures areas in constitutional law, police supervision, police management and leadership, police tactics and strategies, investigations, police procedures and prosecution, and modern policing in the 21st century. They then come in to take that written exam. It's about a 2.5 to 3 hour test. At the completion of the written exam, they leave. Their tests are graded by the company, and within a couple of days, they typically receive notice whether they've passed. It is a pass and fail process at that time. If they pass, they continue on. If they don't, we wish them well next time around. The next step in the process is an assessment center. And I know our brothers and sisters in the fire department know about an assessment center. In the police world, our assessment center is a full day process. We schedule 8 hours for it. And again, it's run by the company. But we select assessors from Lake County. And we reach out to other departments, and we bring in commanders and deputy chiefs to be the assessors for that process. And so that process is scheduled. They come in, and basically there's 3 or 4 different assessments that they will participate in on that day. And it varies based on the time and what the hot topic is, but they're generally going to see some form of a live panel, which might be giving a community presentation. They may see some form of a citizen's complaint where they will sit down with a paid actor and they will take a complaint on a topic and they will have to respond to that topic. They may deal with an employee who needs some motivation. They may deal with an employee who's going to receive some discipline. So they're going to have at least 2 live panel type scenarios that they're going to go through. And again, we bring in paid actors to play the role for that live panel. The next one is usually some form of a tactical exercise. And when I say tactical, it's some sort of an active response scenario. And it varies. Again, it might be a natural disaster. It might be an active incident at a school, at a theme park, at a mall. It might be a missing child. It's going to be something that's very active and requires that person to not only remain calm, but test their faculties. And again, we're looking for alertness, communication, emotional intelligence, stability, judgment, knowledge of resources, self-confidence, and the ability to remain calm and composed under stress. Each one of these is timed. And so nobody's going to go into the assessment center in a tactical exercise and be able to complete the whole thing. They're going to get bombarded for 15 to 20 minutes, and they may get halfway through that assessment when the time is up. And so it's very important that they remain calm enough to be able to get through as much of that as they can. The next step in the process is the Civil Service Board. We are a civil service community. We have at least one of our civil service commissioners here tonight. Our chairman, Ty Bonds, is in the back. So thank you, sir, for being here. But it's a panel of 3 residents in Gurnee who sit on that board, and they go through an interview process with each candidate. At the conclusion of that interview, which is, again, pass or fail, they are scored by our civil service commissioners. As I mentioned, the written exam is 20% of their grade. The scenarios, if you will, the assessment center is 40% of their grade, and civil service is 20% of their grade. The last percentages are part of a internal review that occurs with the supervisors. We roundtable that process. Anybody in the building that is at the rank they're testing for or above goes through their files, looks at their accomplishments, their reward or their awards, commendations, any complaints, any discipline. We look at their last 2 evaluations, and then we grade them on our 4 pillars of policing here in Gurnee. And so the first 2 you would commonly associate with the police department. That's crime response and crime prevention. The next 2 are really about service, and that's service to the community we police and community impact. And the next one is service to the organization, and that's teamwork and team building. And so they get graded on each one of those pillars after a review, and those scores get submitted. It gets a little bit more complicated during that process because it is a confidential and anonymous scoring process. So the scores are submitted. We don't know who's scoring who and what. All we know is the rank. And then those are weighed and turned into civil service. And our Human Resources Director, Christine Palmieri, runs this entire process for civil service. So that establishes the list. There are preference points for military. There's also preference points for education. And there's some preference points for seniority, which is basically 1 point if you've been here for less than 10 years, 2 points if you've been here for more than 2 years. And that establishes the list. Once the list is established, and then we move forward with promotions. And so with that being said, it's my honor tonight to start the promotions. Like any good leader would, I know your list says Commander Bill Stashkew's up first, but he is deferred to his sergeants. And so number 1 on the sergeant's list during this current testing process is Stan St. Clair. So Stan, can you come down? All right, Stan, I'm going to embarrass you a little bit. So I'm going to tell everybody about Stan and who he is and where he came from. And so for those of you that don't know Stan, he is a detective right now. He currently assigned as a school resource officer at the Owens Plain campus. He started his law enforcement career in 2006. Well, you're not anymore. He joined us through our lateral program in 2017. Prior to lateraling to us, he worked as a patrol officer, a canine handler, and a sergeant in the village of Spring Grove for their police department. He was there for 11 years and came over to us in June of 2017. During his 18 years in law enforcement, Detective Stan has served as canine officer, a drug abuse resistance and education officer, commonly referred to as DARE, a gang resistance education and training, commonly referred to as GREAT, truck enforcement officer, major crash accident team, MCAT, defensive tactics instructor, a taser instructor, a less lethal officer, crisis intervention team officer, ILEAS Mobile Field Force out in McHenry County when he was with the Spring Grove Police Department, juvenile officer, and as I mentioned most recently, a school resource officer at the Old Plain campus. Stan is a veteran. He served 8 years in the Marine Corps, including in 2005 for Operation Iraqi Freedom, where he served as a platoon sergeant. And with that, you know, the one other thing I would like to share is Stan is from the islands. He's not hesitant to tell everybody that he's an islander. But I think more importantly, Stan is the first black police sergeant in the village of Gurnee. And so congratulations to Stan for ending up number 1 on our list. And before we give the mic back to the mayor is going to read him his oath of office. We usually have the benefit of having somebody else pin the badge on. Stan's family is not local, and so nobody could be here for him tonight. And so you guys are going to watch me struggle through that process that I haven't done before. And so, Mr. Mayor?
I'll trade you. Glad I'm not pinning you. All right, so raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Stanley St. Clair,
Having been appointed to the office of sergeant
been appointed to the office of sergeant
in the village of Gurnee
in the village of Gurnee
in the county of Lake,
in the county of Lake,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
that I will faithfully discharge
that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of
the duties of the office of
sergeant
sergeant
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
I told you, it's the first time I've ever had to do it.
That one will make the paper.
He promised me not to scream.
There you go. All the judgments you made against the wives of people that couldn't pin people, right? So. Say something?
I'm not a man of many words, but I would like to thank the village, my administration, the officers, and everybody that came out to see me. As he said, my family couldn't make it because of medical emergencies and stuff like that, but I would like to thank them too. I definitely want to thank all the officers for your vote of confidence, for you motivating me to take the sergeant's exam, for just being who you are. As they say, Gurnee is like a second family, so I appreciate all of you. I'm up here because of everybody in the back of that room. I thank the fire department because they are very supportive. They have some choice words sometimes, but it's lovely. So I just want to thank everybody. As I said, I don't speak very well in front of people unless it's students. So, but I really do appreciate for everybody to come out here. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you.
Good job.
You guys want to come up and take pictures and stand? Congratulations, Stan. All right, we're fortunate enough to be promoting 2 sergeants tonight, and so number 2 on that same sergeant's list, that process I went through, it's my honor to introduce Detective John Savage. So John, can you join me up front? Detective John Savage joined the Gurnee Police Department in August 2015 as part of our lateral police officer hiring program. John lateraled to us after serving as a police officer with the Johnsburg Police Department for 2 years. During his nearly 11 years in law enforcement, Detective Savage has served as a patrol officer, a detective with our visitor-oriented policing team, Major Crash Assistant Team, MCAT, as one of our police explorer advisors. John currently serves as a field training officer, a crisis intervention team officer, a juvenile officer, a less lethal officer, an emergency vehicle operations course instructor, evidence technician, rapid deployment instructor, and is one of our 2 detectives assigned to the Gurnee Mills substation. I just wanted to note, in the last 12 months, Detective Savage, along with Detective Gullifer, who's also assigned out there, have recovered nearly $300,000 worth of stolen merchandise while working at the mall. John also does participate in our Shop with a Cop program. He's received numerous traffic enforcement awards and a number of other unit citations. He's a graduate of the Warren Township High School. He previously lived in the Gurnee area for 20 years. He holds a bachelor's of science degree in criminal justice. John is married. His wife Jessica and his 2 children are with us today. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the mayor for your oath. Congratulations, John.
Ready for this, John? Yeah? All right. I state your name.
I, Jonathan Savage,
Having been appointed to the office of sergeant
having been appointed to the office of sergeant
in the village of Gurnee,
in the village of Gurnee,
in the county of Lake,
in the county of Lake,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I support the Constitution
of the United States,
of the United States,
the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of
of the office of
sergeant.
sergeant.
Congratulations.
I think the family's going to come up here. We're going to do this as a family? You'll be fine, buddy. Don't worry. It's not as hard as I made it look. I promise. We'd make it easier, but it's a family bonding moment.
Right, yeah. Family test.
All right, John?
Thank you. I, like Stan, am not a man of many words, but thank you, Chief. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Village. Thank you, Civil Service. Specifically, Chief, thank you for all the mentoring as I was an officer and working for you. Deputy Chief Gaughan's not here, but I thank him as well. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the two of you in this career. To everybody in the back, all my brothers and sisters, like Stan said, if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be here. I have special relationships with each and every one of you, and I hope I can make you proud. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for family and friends. It's not an easy job. It's hard on your family, and without them, I wouldn't be here. Without my wife, I wouldn't be standing here. She's the one that pushed me to strive to become a sergeant, and without her, I wouldn't be standing here. Without you guys, there'd be nothing here. So, again, thank you. I appreciate all the relationships I've formed. It's nice seeing some old faces and some new faces, so I hope I can do you guys proud, and thank you.
Your family.
All right, thank you. Congratulations, John. All right, now at the beginning, I mentioned that Sergeant Bill Stashke had deferred to the sergeants like any good leader would. So with that being said, I'd like to call current Sergeant Bill Stashke up. So Bill's going to be promoted from sergeant to commander. And he's been a member of the Gurnee Police Department since January of 2002. During that time, he's served in various roles as a patrol officer, field training officer, evidence technician, juvenile officer, instructor with the Citizens Police Academy, and on the Northern Illinois Police Alarm System, NIPUS Mobile Field Force for 10 years. Bill has also served as the Fraternal Order of Police, FOP, and Illinois Council of Police, ICOPS, Union Steward. He still serves as a Gurnee pension trustee, where he currently serves as the secretary. Sergeant Saskew has received the Traffic Safety Award several times and was selected as the Gurnee Police Department Officer of the Year in 2008. Bill is also a recipient of the Gurnee Police Department's Team Building Pillar Award in 2016. Bill was promoted to sergeant in 2017, serving first in the Patrol Division before being assigned to the Investigations Division, where he served as a detective sergeant in 2019 and 2020. Bill is currently the coordinator of the Gurnee Police Department in the Locks and Loan program, and perhaps his most proud moment here, he's also our department, he supervises our department drone program, in which he was a founding member in 2017. Bill's a graduate of the University of Illinois Chicago with a double major in psychology and criminal justice, and he's married to his wife, Sarah. With that, congratulations, Bill, and I'm turning it over to the mayor for your oath.
You've done this before, right? Yes. It's been a while. Yeah, all right. So raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, William Stashew,
Having been elected, or appointed, not elected, right? Appointed
have been appointed
to the office of Commander
to the office of Commander
in the Village of Gurnee
in the Village of Gurnee
in the County of Lake,
in the County of Lake,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United
of
States,
the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
that I will faithfully discharge
that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the
the
office
duties of the office
of Commander.
of Commander.
Congratulations.
Okay. Well, it's all been said by the other two gentlemen already, but it's true. It needs to be said again. And thank you to the chief for the opportunity, to the village board, and to the mayor for basically all the support that you show us, so that we can make sure that we get the tools and the training that we need to be successful and grow as a department. And to my wife Sarah for all the support that she's shown me and pushed me throughout my career. I got a lot of friends and family here tonight. My parents, uncle, aunt, in-laws, brother and sister-in-law, nieces. All thank you for being here. And of course, everybody in the back of the room. You know, I've worked 22 years and known some of you for at least that long, and it's together as a team that we grow as a department, and we're so successful, and thank you.
Congratulations, Bill. So that concludes our promotions tonight. I know there's a board meeting that still needs to be held, so thank you to the board for the time. Thank all of you for being here and for your support to our police department. And from my perspective, just thank you to the officers, thank you to the supervisors. You know, we're a team and a family, and you know, we're not who we are without all of them. So I have the benefit of being up here in front of everybody, but it's because of them that we're able to do this. So thank you. Have a good night.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the approval of my recommended appointment of Tim Evans as backup administrative hearing officer. Just a short background is that we're in need of one. I'm familiar with Tim Evans. He is also an administrative hearing officer for several other villages. So I'd be asking at this point that we need a roll call vote. Motion? Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Trustee Thorstensen.
Second.
Second by Trustee Garner. Roll call, please.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
Ross.
Aye.
Garner. Aye. O'Brien.
Aye.
Thomas.
Aye.
5
Motion carries. On to reports. Presentation by Village Engineer Nick Leach, 2022-2023 All Natural Hazards Mitigation Plan Progress Report. Nick?
Good evening. Hopefully I'll keep this brief and informative. So this presentation serves as our annual notification to the public and to the board regarding our 2022 All Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan and steps we've taken this past year. As the name suggests, this plan identifies the natural hazards. It also assesses vulnerabilities and determines how to minimize or eliminate risk based on a set of agreed upon goals. The goals of the All Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan include protecting the lives, health, and safety of the people of Lake County from impact and effects of natural hazards. Number 2, protect public services, utilities, and critical facilities from potential damage from natural hazards. Mitigate existing buildings to protect against damage from natural hazards. Number 4, ensure that new developments do not create new exposures of the people and property from damage from natural hazards. And that last one, mitigate. Number 5, mitigate to protect against economic and transportation losses due to natural hazards. The mitigation plan is a requirement of the Disaster Mitigation Act of 2000. So in order to qualify for grant funding, which we've utilized very successfully regarding floodplain properties, we must adopt and maintain the plan. Every year we must review the plan of any hazards encountered and discuss how our action items have been implemented. This past year, the village did not see any major hazards within our town. FEMA requires hazard mitigation plans to be updated and readopted every 5 years. Lake County just finished updating the 2022 All Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan this past June. We adopted it this past June as well. And the village just adopted, repeated that twice. Moving on to mitigation action plan. So everybody in the county kind of determines what action plans they can go be implemented throughout their town based on funding and staff availability. The action items that we selected, there were 22 of them out of a possible 61. The action items 1 through 22 have been the same from prior mitigation plans. There's one action item in particular that the new plan wanted to implement. They wanted more of a project-oriented action plan, so something that's achievable within the 5-year implementation, during the 5-year implementation, versus some of the continuously basically trying to stay in compliance, continuously action items such as, updating building codes, making sure that we are enforcing the WDO, which is the Watershed Development Ordinance, or continue participation in the National Flood Insurance Program. So with that, the new action items, 36A, 36B, and 36C, again, they were goal-oriented. So 36A, we are going to try to upgrade 2 specific locations generators. That is the Lee Avenue lift station and the Westgate lift station. 36B is stream bank stabilization along the Swanson Trig. I know in prior years, Public Works have been able to go out there and kind of restore some areas along the Swanson tributary just to make sure the slopes of the tributary, are not have massive erosion issues. And then 36C, increased culvert flow capacity at the Grove Avenue culvert, which that action item actually was completed prior year, where we upgraded a couple 12-inch corrugated metal culverts that were deteriorating, and we updated them with 2 ductile iron 18-inch pipes to allow more flow under the road and prevent any type of overtopping. So those are the village's action plans. And then from this past year, the major ones that were able to be updated, or the ones that are of note, would be action item number 6, which is identify a need and obtain alternate power source to critical facilities. Public Works actually installed a manual transfer switch and an exterior plug-in for a secondary generator to be installed if the main generator at Public Works failed. They actually ordered a portable generator. It was purchased this past year, but we're still awaiting delivery. The generator will be large enough to power key functions at Public Works, not only at Public Works, but also the police department, and then essential lift stations throughout town. Action item number 15, which is improve building codes and enforcing building codes. The community development directors are looking to update the building codes to the most recent 2024 codes, and we're hoping to get that approved by the board or adopted by the board this next coming month. And then action items, as I mentioned, 36C was completed prior year, and then 36A, the Lee generator or Lee Avenue lift station, we have budgeted a generator for replacement of the existing generator that has gone through its useful life. So action items number 1, 4, and 20. 1 is adoption. So as I mentioned previously, we adopted the all natural hazard mitigation plan this past June. Number 4, action item number 4, continual implementation of the WDO and NFIP, which is NFIP stands for National Flood Insurance Program. This past July, we were able to update the WDO, or adopt the new updates to the WDO, which adopted new floodplain FEMA maps, which I'm going to discuss a little later. And we updated, the plan had a few addendums relating to some verbiage as well within the watershed development ordinance. So that was adopted this past July. And then action item number 20. This past year, we became a Class 5 CRS community. We were a Class 6, and so by becoming a Class 5, we're able to give a 25% insurance premium reduction to all our residents that would like flood insurance that are in the floodplain. Before moving on, are there any immediate questions before I touch on this next topic regarding any of the action items that were that took place this past year?
There's none, Nick. Go ahead.
I'm going to pass out a couple maps. If you could just take one and pass one down. It'll be a little bit easier to see with that versus the board here. So with the updated FEMA maps, this is a map, the first page is a map of the FEMA maps prior to October of 23. FEMA recently updated these maps, and originally when we looked at the maps, it didn't seem like there was going to be much of an effect for properties, but it was discovered that there was a large area out west that got incorporated into the floodplain. So the next page, you can see this red hashed area, and that is the new floodplain, and you can see it has now incorporated more areas, wetland areas. This is along the golf course, Bittersweet Golf Course, And so with doing so, it increased the floodplain in town by 100 acres. And the majority of it obviously is out west here, where there never was a floodplain before. It incorporated upwards of 170 properties, so technically now 170 plus properties could be required. I'll use could as, to have flood insurance. There are 3 new structures that actually touch the floodplain. And so by them being within the floodplain, if they have a federally backed mortgage, they're going to be required to have flood insurance. So the good news is, as I mentioned before, is we're a Class 5 community in the CRS, so if a certain property owner is now required to have flood insurance, they'll be able to have some relief with the 25% flood insurance reduction. The other thing I've been trying to do for the past 2 months, and will be doing for the next several months, is try to acquire, they call it a letter of map amendment. And if you can get if these properties can get a LOMA, the acronym is a LOMA, it will remove the requirement of flood insurance from FEMA. And so basically, if you have a federally backed mortgage and you are within the floodplain, FEMA technically requires that homeowner to purchase flood insurance. But if we're able to prove that the structure on the property is out of the floodplain, then that requirement is removed. And so I've started the process. I sent out a letter to all 170 plus properties that have been affected back in December, letting them know that there's a new floodplain, your property's in the floodplain, kind of the protocol, what you can do, and then also letting them know that the village, myself, engineering staff are in the process of trying to pretty much get every property on a LOMA application to try to get a LOMA approved for the structure. So far, the response, I've only gotten maybe a handful of phone calls. So I thought I would be getting a lot more. So either there's people that don't have mortgages and they just own the house outright, so removing that requirement, or the mortgage company may not think this is a concern. So what I mean by that is the next picture or map is several properties that the floodplain touches. So the blue shaded area is considered the floodplain or special flood hazard area. And as you can see, it pretty much just barely nicks a lot of these homes, but that triggers the requirement for automatic flood insurance if the property owner has a federally backed mortgage. And so this was the first area where we went out and surveyed, and right now their application is being reviewed by FEMA, and I'm hopeful to get at least 3 out of the 4 properties LOMAs. There might be one property that actually is becomes in the floodplain, but we'll see what FEMA says hopefully in the next 30 to 60 days here. The next map that you'll see is this is the large majority of how the properties fall in the floodplain. It just touches some of the property. Technically, since it touches the property, and this is a zone A, which means it's an approximate floodplain. It does not have a clearly defined base flood elevation. And so with that, and since it's an approximate location, a mortgage company could say to these properties and require them to purchase flood insurance, because when FEMA did the study, they just kind of put a blob in an area where they thought flooding would be high risk. And so basically it becomes the property owner's responsibility to determine or get themselves out. And so that's kind of where I'm coming in and trying to help each property owner to make sure that there's no discretion, no question that these structures are going to be out of this floodplain. And so that's what I've been doing, and that's what I will be doing, developing base flood elevations on data that has been established from when the subdivision went in, and so basically I'll be using high water level elevations that, prior design firms came up with and developed, and trying to prove that these homes are out. And with this particular type of setup and orientation of the floodplain on properties, I'm hoping majority of these, I'll say like 98% of these homes will be considered out as shown. And so since it's not touching the primary structure, flood insurance hopefully will not be required. And so that is one update I wanted to update the board on in case there's any questions that residents come to you with. And I'm hopeful to be able to get this all accomplished, May, June time frame, at least all the applications submitted, and then maybe by October coming up, FEMA having determinations on the majority of these properties. With that, are there any questions? And then I'll go into my last item I would like to cover.
There are none.
All right, last page is our floodplain properties map. This should be very familiar. We're getting a lot more red, which is good, than green. This past year, we were able to remove 3 properties that started the application process in 2020. That was 1062 Kilbourne, 1054 Kilbourne, 881 Kilbourne. For future floodplain property buyouts, 1122 Kilbourne has shown interest, and we've been working with Lake County SMC to get them on an application and possibly get some funding for that property to be removed in the future, but nothing's set in stone. But that is the next kind of targeted area or targeted property for the future. And with that, that concludes my annual report for the All Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan.
Thanks, Nick. I appreciate it. On to item number 2, under reports, presentation by Swalco Executive Director Walter Willis. Swalco updates.
Choose this one, Mike. Walter. You can stroll around freely.
Good evening, Mayor and village trustees and staff and members of the public. My name is Walter Willis, and I'm the Executive Director of the Solid Waste Agency of Lake County. I've been there for 16 years, and Pat serves on the Executive Committee, so it's a pleasure to have someone from Gurnee on that committee, and also you host one of the 5 permanent household hazardous waste facilities in the state of Illinois right here in Gurnee, and we do appreciate that. I know Pat's going to talk a little bit tonight about your residential hauling contract, and that's one of the main jobs that I do for the members of SWALCO is keep information on all the other, what's going on with the other towns who are going out to bid and the trends, and develop the RFPs and help staff review the information. We've got less competition now than we did 5-6 years ago when Waste Management and Advance merged, and we went to the Department of Justice and argued the case that we needed some divesting, we need more competition. Used to be when you guys went out to bid or towns went out to bid, we had 6 or 7 haulers that were competing for the work. Now we're down to 3, really 2, because Waste Management has made a kind of a corporate decision that the residential space, at least in Lake County and what we hear nationally, is an area that they don't see as much profit in. So they're not as competitive with their bids. You guys had some really good rates over the years with Waste Management, and things have changed. And we did the best we can, so Pat will go over that. And I think you've got your commercial franchise coming up next year, so you have to decide about that as well. You're one of 10 communities that has that for your businesses. So what I do want to say about some of our programs, I know that you guys have a Sharps kiosk out there that was part of your, it's Waste Management kind of threw that into your franchise arrangement as a benefit. And now that will be going away, but SWALCO has procured a state grant that we can now cover the cost of that Sharps kiosk. You'll be getting a new one once that one is taken away, and you'll be running a program to continue for your residents, because I know that's a very popular drop-off for your residents. So we'll be able to keep that program up and running with that state grant. I also want to point out that you guys are the #1 collector of clothing and textiles in the county with your location at the fire department. You guys did nearly 56,000 pounds at that facility, generated nearly $6,700 in revenue, of which we gave you a little over $2,000. So keep up the good work. That program continues to grow, and you guys are leading that program here in Lake County. Some other things coming up in 2024. What are we up to? We've got a plan update. So every 5 years, Lake County was the very first county in Illinois to adopt a solid waste plan, so we take our planning very seriously. We'll get an advisory committee together, and we're going to streamline the plan. It's a much too dense and thick document, so we're going to try to streamline it. Maybe more people will take a look at it. So that's an important thing that we do, and then the county board has to adopt that. And then it becomes a rather important document as far as garbage transfer stations or landfills or whatever. Whoever wants to build one of those in Lake County has to follow what's in that plan. Speaking of, Waste Management is looking at the Countryside landfill here in Grays Lake will probably close in 2026, 2027. So one of our 2 in-county landfills will be shutting down. They want to develop what they call a garbage transfer station. That's where the packer trucks, you pick it up from the curb, they'll go tip it on a floor, and then they load it on big semis. This makes it more efficient to move it. So they want to put one of those out there by the existing landfill. So the county would be the siting authority, but we've been talking and meeting with Grays Lake and the county and SWALCO so that we'll have some more infrastructure in our county, which is important. We're blessed as an urban county to have in-county landfills. It's really us and Will County are the only ones in the Chicago area that have in-county landfills. So it's important to keep our costs down, to have the infrastructure. We're also working on the MRF project. So I don't know if you guys remember, probably 2019 was the last year, but we used to send you guys pretty big checks. We got a rebate, if you will, for the amount of tons you recycled. We would get a part of the revenue share when markets were strong. And they got strong. One year we paid back over $1 million to our members. Some of you guys got used to that check. And so it went away, though. So we're trying to bring that concept back where if we dedicate our flow of recyclables to a facility, will they let us in on the deal, if you will, and get a cut of the revenue like we did in the past. So we did issue a request for proposal. LRS is one of the companies that responded along with Groot and Waste Management. So we're looking at those really strong right now, and I could be coming back to meet with Pat, the finance director, ultimately the village board, to sign what we would call a project use agreement, where you would dedicate the flow of your recyclables contractually for a 10-year period of time. By dedicating that flow of material to the MRF operator, we're giving them the valuable feedstock that they need. In return for that, they're willing to share some of the revenue with us and set a fixed tipping fee for taking our material there. So we hope it's a win-win, because ultimately, once the Zion landfill closes, we'll just be funded by 2 garbage transfer stations, which won't generate the revenue that the landfills do. So the hope is that we can fund the agency moving forward on the value of our recyclables, because we, together in the past, aggregated our materials, went into the marketplace with them, and got benefit. So we hope to try to do the same thing. And that will be a very important deal, and I would be coming back asking for you to look at it contractually. You're going to have to weigh that, whether that's a good long-term play for the village and its relationship with SWALCO or not. So that's a really big deal. And the last one is we've been debating with the landfills and the landfill industry since 2009 about the way that they've been paying the fee that is authorized by a state law. That state law has certain exemptions in it. We've been debating over those exemptions. So we filed a lawsuit 2 years ago. We're in depositions now. I went to my first deposition. That's a lot of fun. But we hope to bring the issue to a head this year, whether or not we're getting paid properly by the landfills or not. It's been a big issue in the state. It's kind of ebbed and flowed. The state was on our side in 2019. They actually issued violation notices to the landfills, and then they backed off. And so now we're just coming back and saying, well, let's find out who's right and who's wrong about how these exemptions are being interpreted. So that's some of the things I've been working on on your behalf. We're moving ahead with battery legislation most likely this year, where the lithium batteries that are causing a lot of fires, and I know your fire chiefs will be glad to know that we're going to be a little more robust with our collection of those types of batteries and the simple alkalins as well. Our facility in in Gurnee will probably become a major hub in this area for damaged batteries and larger bike batteries, et cetera, that would be covered under this law. So that's a big thing coming our way as well. So lots to be proud of in Lake County here. So anybody got any questions or things move on? Appreciate the time. I haven't been here in a while.
Trustee O'Brien?
I have two, please and thank you. Love what you do, by the way, thank you. What are we number 5 in the state?
There's 5 communities in the state that have a household hazardous waste facility in them, and you're one of those, along with the city of Chicago, Rockford, Naperville, and down in Madison County.
Neat, thanks. And then what does MRF stand for?
What is what?
MRF.
MRF, Material Recovery Facility. So sorry, I got in the jargon. It's really a recycling center. That's where our curbside materials go to be further separated, baled, and then shipped out to markets.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Trustee Ross?
A while ago, we talked about food waste, and that really hasn't come, partially because people don't want 3 places to put for composting, but you also talked about having a farm that would take it, and I wondered if anything has happened with that.
So the food scrap provision is still in your contract. So we're going to work harder on, for 8 months of the year, your residents can divert their fruits and vegetables along with their yard waste with the ride-along and not pay extra. It's just the winter months that we don't have a really good answer. But we'd like to push more and more on that over the next several years. We do have 5 communities now that have year-round third cart for the organic material, your yard waste and your food scraps. So it's an additional expense, and it's a commitment that at this time, I think it's important to get the word out about the 8 months of the year you can start to do that. And so that's something we're going to work a little harder on with our members to get the access. The access is there, the participation just isn't what it should be. So we're keep trying.
Left. Thank you, Walter. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor.
Don't go anywhere. Give me the whole.
Yeah, right. So we don't have enough items for the Committee of the Whole. So we are looking to...
Yeah, I did have 2 items for the Committee of the Whole. Bittersweet was going to come make a report, but with all the closings for schools, Kathy's daughter's senior night for basketball got pushed off and scheduled to that night. So obviously that's more important than coming here. So gave Kathy the night off for the Committee of the Whole. So we're planning on having Kathy and then Brian Gosnell on the February 5th agenda. Kathy will cover Bittersweet, how the season went, what they're gearing up for next year, and then Brian will go over the audit. So that was what we were planning for the Committee of the Whole, but got pushed a week. So we have no other items for next Monday.
Need to do anything with that? No.
Yeah, cancel.
Cancel. Is there a motion to cancel?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Trustee Balmas, second by Trustee Thorstensen. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, no old business. On to new business. Approval of ordinance 2024.
06.
Amending the village code of the Village of Gurnee by adding Title 9, Chapter 22, Regulation of Unscheduled Bus Stops, and amending Section 32-37. Actually, before I hand it over to Pat, I just have a couple comments about this. This has been in the news, and it's been much talked about by many of the villages in the city of Chicago. So internally, there's been as many or more discussions about this, and our police department and our fire department have been well informed on what to do. So I've been reluctant to codify something along this line in light of the fact that sometimes it's viewed negatively. From my perspective, it's positive to provide for migrants to have the ability to, in an orderly fashion, make it to the processing location in the city of Chicago. Currently, that isn't happening, and we're probably not at the tail end, probably midway through the other villages entering into certain ordinances that would allow for something to be more orderly. Recently, there's been a lawsuit filed by one of the bus companies, so it makes us mindful that we are trying to do this for the benefit of the migrants, not because we don't want them, but at the same time to give them the best opportunity to be successful. With that being said, Pat, if you could just talk a little bit about it.
Sure, and I'll just add a few things and then let Attorney Winter discuss the ordinance. So, Lake County Municipal League had a meeting not too long ago with a lot of the Lake County communities on there. And the following day, the executive director from the Municipal League attended Council of Government meetings with the Mayor's Caucus and other similar agencies. And really the message that came back from the Illinois Emergency Management was that they're urging communities to pass ordinances such as this just to send a unified message that this does need to be handled in an orderly fashion. So that information was brought back. Lake County Municipal League provided multiple copies of ordinances that have been passed around Lake County to date, shared those with Attorney Winter. He took a look at those and drafted the ordinance that's before you tonight based off ones that were approved down in Buffalo Grove and Hawthorne Woods. So I'll let Attorney Winter provide a synopsis of the ordinance.
Yeah, basically, some of the municipalities have come up with different schemes. This ordinance is only about 5.5 pages. Some of them are much longer. And the struggle is that there is interstate commerce that you have to respect. The hope is that by not requiring any licenses, but just permission to make an unscheduled stop, so we have an application process laid out in the ordinance, and this really tracks what a couple other communities have done already in the state, that will notify bus drivers that, hey, it doesn't strictly prohibit a bus from stopping, but it does prohibit a bus from making an unscheduled stop unless they received approval for the stop. So that's what the ordinance lays out, basically is, and it does provide a number of areas of providing information to the village, so the village would know that a bus is planning on doing that, provided that and basically the village administrator, who does most of he's basically our licensing administrator in many instances, would take on that added role should we get an application. If a bus does arrive without having gone through that application process, authorized to notify the bus operator that that's unlawful. They could issue a ticket. They could also actually even impound the bus because you want to prevent, this activity. The mayor has alluded to the fact that if you read the newspapers, there are some litigation matters that are proceeding. At the current time, there has not been any court rulings to decide the constitutionality of any particular ordinances, or at least with respect to the format that we're presenting for your consideration tonight. But having said that, this is something that obviously the village and I will be continuing to monitor. If there is a decision that comes down that would require a modification of this ordinance, we would bring that obviously to the attention of the board. But right now there's a number of cases that have been filed, but no definitive decisions have been entered that would affect the legality of what we're considering tonight. So unless anyone has any questions, basically, this is a form that, or this approach has been taken by other communities. The only other thing that I would point out is, I think generally speaking, it's my understanding from the different reports and talking with the village administrator, the buses, because Chicago has their own ordinances, and I just recently read an article where there might be 95 lawsuits pending under that ordinance right now. Some of the buses have been circling to the collar counties. But my understanding is, in large measure, those buses are going to locations where there is a Metra bus station, and anybody that is on the bus is given a ticket to go to the Ogilvy Center or Union Station, because it is well known that that is where the receiving centers are within the state. And so, you know, perhaps these visits to the collar counties are a response to the Chicago ordinance. So if the local communities have their own ordinance, maybe that will dissuade this practices in the future.
All right, so at this time, I'll start to my left and see if there's any questions or comments.
Question.
Oh, to my right, any questions or comments? Trustee O'Brien?
I do have a comment, so I'll just read it. I'm happy that we're supporting the Illinois Municipal League. I think it makes sense that we're giving solidarity to our neighboring cities. I don't like that because of federal policy 1,300 miles south of Gurnee, we're put in a position to have to make such an ordinance up here in Gurnee, especially since we don't have a train station. I am happy that Gurnee actually had, and still has a compassionate plan in place for the humans that are on those buses. I don't like it when humans are used as pawns in a political game. And then lastly, the ordinance as presented, I've read it thoroughly. I know it's preemptive, it's meant just to send a message. I don't see us having too much teeth in it because I don't see a bus driver dropping somebody off and then sticking around to see if something's going to happen. They're just going to jump on the tollway and pick up the next load. So I've done a poll in the time since I've learned about this. 100% of the people I've talked to said that they are in support of it. So my opinion doesn't matter, but the people I represent want me to vote yes for this.
Trustee Thorstensen?
So I guess my question goes along somewhat a line that Trustee O'Brien said. I'm thinking about the process. So if a bus stops and we don't have a Metra, but you know, they decide to just pull up right outside here and drop everybody off, how quickly will our, I'm going to say police, find this out so that we could get these humans to a safe place so that they could take shelter until we could get them transferred?
Yeah, so,
It's true with any violation, right? It's like, if we see it or we don't see it, but go ahead, Pat.
I was just gonna say, again, it depends on how quick it's reported to us, how quick we can get out there. If we show up, people have been dropped off, the bus is gone, we've contacted transportation companies, so we've made those contacts as far as securing transportation to get them down to the processing center. We've talked to a church in town that is willing to provide some temporary housing to keep them warm while the buses are waiting to show up. You know, we've got snacks, water, et cetera, available at village facilities. So, I mean, we've worked out a contingency plan, you know, based off the resources we have currently, if we're in that situation. But again, it comes down to, like the mayor said, get us the information, the police department shows up, the bus is there. That's a different situation than they show up and there's 50 people standing there, so. But there are plans in place as far as transportation, shelter, some food, so.
So I think the church is probably the answer for that. Great, thank you.
So is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by trustee Balmas,
Second.
second by trustee Thorstensen. Roll call, please.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
Ross.
Aye.
Garner.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
5-0.
Motion carries. On to item number 2, approval of ordinance 2024-07, authorizing execution of a residential solid waste agreement between the Village of Gurnee and LRS, Lakeshore Recycling Systems LLC. Again, I just have a quick comment on this. I just appreciate the hard work that staff has put into. Sometimes you wouldn't think a residential solid waste agreement would create so much research and looking into to find the best solutions for our residents. And probably leading the way and leading our complaint way is our leaf removal. So as you can imagine, if we're going to have a new company removing our waste, how they do our leaves was very important to us. And there was some really excellent due diligence by staff in finding out that information and bringing this contract forward to us. Even though it's a little costlier, in the end, I'm confident based on what I've heard that they're the right choice for us as the Village of Gurnee. So Pat?
Sure. So I've reported this in the admin memo previously. So our contract with Waste Management's up at the end of May 2024. So that's, I've had a relationship with them dating back to pre-1990. Basically told us that they're getting out of the leaf vac business and that we could expect rate increases from them in excess of 30%. So reached out to Walter at Swalco, talked about a game plan going forward, decided to issue an RFP, so the village board approved that on November 20th. We sent that directly to 7 haulers, posted on the village website, had 3 responses, so Waste Management, Groot, and LRS all responded. We reached back out to the 2 most competitive responses, which was Groot and LRS, and asked them to sharpen their pencils if they could. Both of them did. Came back with 2 very close proposals, but LRS did offer a program that is a better benefit to the Village of Gurnee. So they, as John Groot, as it relates to the leaf vac charge per household per month by 25 cents, landscape waste collection costs are lower, white goods were lower, additional cart lease, emergency services, and then a lower annual escalator, 4% versus 5%. So as the mayor said, we will see a rate increase. So again, we've been with Waste Management for over 30 years, started with really favorable rates, which Walter can attest to for the level of service that we had, all the services and the leaf vac in there. And those rates for Waste Management just weren't sustainable, and had really low escalators with Waste Management too. So I gave an example in my memo. Over the last 5 years, Waste Management was locked in at a 2.5% annual increase. The annual average CPI during that time was double that. So they were eating that on their end, and based off what they came back with the proposal, just couldn't anymore. So as it relates to the proposed contract with LRS, compared to what residents are currently paying, so we have 3 different size carts out there for refuse, 35 gallon, 65 gallon, and 95 gallon. The majority of the town, over 5,600 accounts, have a 95 gallon cart. Those households will see an annual increase of $75 compared to what they're paying now. Those with the 65 gallon cart, about 1,700 accounts, they're looking at a $90 increase, and then the 35 gallon carts, which obviously the smallest cart, smallest number in town, just around 300, will see the largest increase of $115 if they stick with that cart. So during the transition, people can move it to any cart they want. So if everybody with a 35 and a 65 gallon cart moved to 90, they'd see the smallest increase in their annual service. The majority of the increase is keeping the leaf vac program around. So we have tried over the past couple of years, Austin and I, through phone calls and social media, to get people to bag their leaves in the fall, knowing that if you bag your leaves, they will be picked up for sure every week on your garbage day. If you rake them out to the curb, you're at Mother Nature's will. If it rains on them, it snows on them, we always have a period of time where a ton of leaves come down, they get behind, residents get upset, they don't get their leaves picked up like they're supposed to. If you bagged them, they'd get picked up. And Waste Management was even picking up unlimited bags for free, which we were able to work in the proposed contract in front of you. But people don't want to bag their leaves, they want to rake them to the curb. So the cost for the annual leaf vac program, if you equate it to stickers and bags, will buy you 15 stickers and 15 bags. There's not very many people in town that can clean up their entire yard in the fall with 15 bags. So from that perspective, continue on with the leaf vac program for the cost makes sense. Also, I think if we tried to remove the leaf vac program, we'd have a lot of angry residents in here. So from those perspectives, again, nobody likes a cost increase. We all live in town. We don't want to pay more. But as Walter spoke to, that's just kind of the market we're at. But again, LRS, they did sharpen their pencil. We've had them in to talk about the program. They understand it's all the same services as before. So the unlimited cleanup in the spring for a couple weeks, leaf vac in the fall, bags in the fall for free, Christmas tree pickup. The only thing that's really new from a village perspective is we included a $15,500 fee to the village, which is basically our membership dues to Swalco. So it's pretty much a pass-through from LRS to the village to Swalco to cover that fee. And then, as Waste Management had There's provisions in there for dumpsters for electronics recycling events. We have a couple of those a year up at Public Works. LRS is willing to provide those dumpsters, some dumpsters for Gurney Days, other special events that Ellen comes up with, porta potties, event boxes, et cetera, but that's all the same as we have right now. So we use the current contract that we've been using with Waste Management, went through and updated that, let Walter take a look at it. LRS went through, had some updates. Attorney Winter took a look at it. He was fine with it. So that's what is before you tonight. It's a 5-year contract. As I said, it's up May 31st, so there'll be a transition period. So we'll be working with Waste Management, LRS, on that to get the word out to make that as smooth as possible. I will note there are some areas in town that aren't covered by this contract, mainly Heather Ridge. So if you have over 8 units in a building, that's not under our contract. So there's HOAs down there that have their own agreements. So we'll get a copy of those to make sure that's clear with LRS as we make the switch over. Yeah, it was an interesting process as far as going out, going through the results. LRS seems to be a good fit. We've got Steve Ramos from LRS here tonight with us. He's a Municipal Services Manager. If there's any questions to the board, otherwise Walter's here, can talk about the rates and what he's seeing compared to other communities. But again, for the level of services we're receiving, competitive rates from what Walter's seeing. LRS is a solid company. Mayor said as far as doing due diligence, reached out to Lincolnshire, so Brad Burke, some of you know Brad, they have LRS, have him down there for a couple of years, asked him specifically about LEFAC, said things went very well, so Austin is definitely looking forward to that. Residents are looking forward to that. Steve's heard it from me, Steve's heard it from the mayor now. Don't screw up LEFAC the first year, or second year, third or fourth or fifth, and things should be good, so.
Thanks, Pat. So questions or comments to my left? No, to my right. Trustee Thorstensen?
You mentioned certain bins that they would be providing us, such as for Gurney Days. Anything on styrofoam?
No, nothing specifically yet. The only thing that we're looking at potentially LRS is exploring is the Hefty Orange Bag Program, where you could take your plastic bags that, like I run over to Mariano's right now and shove in the box outside in your film and put that in a separate bag in your recycling that would ride around with recycling, and then they would sort that out at the facility. So that's something that they're looking into. The residents will still have to go and purchase a bag separately. So I'd have to go to whatever Jewel and buy the bags, stick the plastic bags in there. So that would be an enhancement. But for styrofoam collection, we'll still be relying on the ESC to hold events.
Okay. Second question is, how do these fees, because, you know, we've got to communicate the fee increase to the residents. So how do these fees, do our fees compare to other residents using LRS?
So they just picked up Waukegan not too long ago. Waukegan was slightly cheaper, but they've got more density over there. So it's more economies of scale. But from what Walter's seeing with other communities, I mean, very competitive. So messaging it out to residents, again, that's something Austin and I are going to work on a game plan, not only the price adjustment, but just, hey, this is coming up, here's how the transition is going to work. You know, it's going to be an interesting process. We've been through it before on the commercial side, got through it. I'm not going to say it's going to be perfect, but I mean, LRS has been through it before. I've talked with Waste Management to give them the news as far as what was going to be considered tonight. Appears as if they're going to work with us and play nice as far as sharing account information to get LRS set up. As Walter said, they still have the commercial franchise in town, so they still do business with us, so I don't see them burning those bridges, so we're hoping it's going to be a smooth transition.
One last one. I'll make it quick.
Yep.
So for all the residents that use electronic billing, that is something that I hear you say you'd be doing the facilitation of that, or just the communication so that we know we can?
So we'll partner with LRS on the communication. So, you know, they have their abilities to push that out. We'll also push that out through our social media channels, et cetera, website. So.
Just would hate for our residents that have been doing that for a long time and kind of ignore it to find out that their bins are gone. They have no new bins because they weren't paying attention.
Yeah, no, the bins, I mean, the same hauler that drops off the new bins collects the old bins. So hopefully how this goes is put your waste management bins out, and the day they're picked up, your new bins show up.
And they
That's what
know
we're hoping
they
for.
need to
So
get their
there won't be service interruption. No one's gonna miss a week of collection. The worst that we'll see is someone will have 4 bins sitting in their house, for a couple days or a week, taking up some extra space, but no one's gonna be without service.
Okay, thank you.
All right, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by trustee Ross, second by trustee O'Brien. Roll call, please.
Thorstenson,
Yes.
Ross,
Aye.
Garner,
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Balmas,
Aye.
5-0.
Motion carries. Congratulations, LRS. Looking forward to a smooth transition, right? Yes.
Thanks.
Item number 3, approval of ordinance 2024,
08.
granting a vacation pursuant to the vacation, sounds like we're going on vacation,
Yeah, no.
pursuant to the Gurney zoning ordinance for 1500 North Delaney Road.
Yeah, right-of-way vacation. So up on Delaney Road, north of Wendy's there, on the west side, they're building a new building for transit company offices. So north of that building, we've got a 60-foot wide section of right-of-way. So there's no right-of-way on the east side of Delaney Road, and that section of right-of-way basically runs up to, you've got Willie Peterson's property there with the cement blocks stacked up, basically runs up to that, so it goes nowhere. It was dedicated back in 1999 when we annexed it. SKE, who's building the office building up there, they purchased the parcel in 2019. It's right across from the entryway for Total Paving, so it makes sense. They've got their entryway there. Looking to have the right-of-way vacated, property turned over to them. How we've done this in the past is we are willing to release it if we don't need it. It doesn't have any value to us for 50% of the fair market value, or the appraised value. Since they just purchased it in 2019, we've got pretty up-to-date values of what the property went for, square footage-wise. So 50% of that is $10,700 to the village. Again, David talked police, fire, public works. You can look at the map and see that it is of no value to us. So staff's recommendation is to vacate this right away and turn it over to SKA for $10,700. It was before the Planning and Zoning Board December 6th, and they're forwarding a favorable unanimous recommendation on the request.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by trustee Garner,
Second.
second by trustee Balmas. Roll call, please.
Thorstenson,
Yes.
Ross, Garner,
Aye.
O'Brien,
Aye.
Balmas,
Aye.
5-0.
Motion carries. Item number 4, approval of ordinance 2024,
09.
amending Chapter 70, Section 70-546, subsection C2 of the Gurney Municipal Code, administrative procedure for plats of consolidation.
Yeah,
Pat.
so David's going to jump in and save me if I really mess this one up. So, Community Development Director is empowered to administer simple lot consolidations. There's 2 separate processes to go about this, depending on whether they're part of a subdivision plat or not. So, partial vacation of a plat's utilized when the lots are part of a subdivision. The declaration of covenant is used when it's not subdivided and commonly called meets and bounds. So in the instance where you've got a parcel that's part of a subdivision next to a parcel that's not part of a subdivision, in the past, we required before those are consolidated, you had to remove the parcel from the subdivision and then put the new lines over it. So what this does is takes away that requirement to remove it from the subdivision first. So, correct? Correct. Okay. So administratively speeds up the process. Again, this is something that the Community Development Director is empowered to do. And it's very rare that these instances pop up, but when they do, just trying to be more efficient on our end.
All right, thanks. Is there a motion?
So moved.
By trustee O'Brien, second by trustee Garner. Roll call, please.
Thorstenson,
Yes.
Ross, Garner,
Aye.
O'Brien,
Aye.
Balmas,
Aye.
5-0.
Motion carries. Item number 5, approval of ordinance 2024
10.
relating to establishing a Vantage Care Retirement Health Savings Program. Pat?
Sure. So we talked about this in the fall last year in an executive session. So police and fire currently have an RHS program in place, retirement health savings program in place. whereby the employee can make a contribution to it, and then the village can make a contribution as well. So this is something that has been requested by the non-bargained employees within the village. So we talked to the village board about it before, setting up some different groups, and depending on what group you're in, basically, you know, executive, village administrator, executive management, supervisory, and then non-supervisory, so 4 groups. Each group would put in a different percentage of their salary and then have a different contribution from the village. So Christine has been working on this since that time, hoping to get this going on May 1. These are the documents to the plan documents to start the program here. I think there was 4 different documents that need to be executed. The board kind of gave a nod towards it last fall, so she's been working on this. So this is actually bringing this forward to formalize it. The board approves this, then we'll start communicating with the employee groups. From our perspective, I think it'll be a pretty strong retention and recruitment tool. I'm not sure how many communities out there are offering it, but again, it's very important to the police and fire departments, important to the non-union, and one of those that in some instances you have employees that probably should have retired but are hanging on for the health insurance, which can create some risk as far as injuries, impact productivity, et cetera. This is a tool that allows them to save up some funds so they don't have to hang on just for the health insurance and can retire after working all those years, move on to the next stage of their life. So see it as a positive from that perspective as well.
All right, is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by trustee Balmas. Second by trustee Thorstensen. Roll call, please.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
Ross.
Aye.
Garner. O'Brien.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
5-0.
Motion carries. Item number 6, approval of Engineering Division's recommendation to award the Dilly's Road Pedestrian Path Construction Project to the low bidder, Everlast Blacktop, at a cost of $521,599, 100% reimbursable from Lake County, ordinance 2023-30A. Pat?
Sure, I think this is like the 4th time we've been in front of the board with this project, so should be the last. So again, this is a path, 8-foot wide, blacktop path on the east side of Dilly's from the ComEd right away north to Stern School Road to fill that gap. Was on the Blue Ribbon Commission report as an important section to fill. Approved an agreement with the county where they'll cover 100% of the construction costs, 75% when we award it based off the unit prices, and then the other 25% once they take a look at it and accept all the conditions of the right-of-way. So issued an RFP, received 5 bids back. Everlast Blacktop was a low bidder at $521,599. Not a company that we've worked with before, but called around references. They've done similar pedestrian path projects. References checked out, came back positive. So recommending it for your approval.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by trustee Garner, second by trustee Ross. Roll call, please.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
Ross.
Aye.
Garner.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
5-0.
Motion carries. Item number 7, approval of police department request to purchase one 2023 Chevrolet Silverado PPV pickup from Curry Motors at a net cost to the village of $27,236. Replacement for Unit 179 totaled in an accident November 9, 2023. Insurance to pay $28,516. Pat?
Sure. So a couple months ago now, we presented some life-saving awards to the village board. Watched a video of a squad out on 41 that got rear-ended, car behind it caught on fire. Officer pulled those, the motorists out of the vehicle, saved their lives. Unfortunately, the Tahoe that was struck has been totaled. So fleet administrator has been looking to find a Tahoe to replace it. Cannot find a Tahoe anywhere. Company we used in Iowa, they used to sell Tahoes to out of state, now is just keeping it for all the departments in Iowa. So that's dried up, unfortunately. Fleet administrator did locate Chevy Silverado with the police package down in Frankfort, Illinois. Talked to the police department about it. Police department is of the opinion that we should move forward with that vehicle. So worked with insurance on getting that Tahoe totaled out. It's a 2020, as the mayor read. They're looking to give us $28,516 for the vehicle. We're going to keep the vehicle for spare parts. So the backside of it's trash, but the motor and the front end is still good. So we're going to retain that vehicle. There'll also be reimbursement from insurance for equipment that's been damaged, the tow, and then also when we get to the point to reinstall new equipment, insurance will cover that as well. So the difference is the $27,236. We set up a separate fleet fund. There's some available fund balance in that fleet fund. So staff is recommending to move forward to pick up this vehicle, mainly due to the supply chain issue and being down that squad over there. So we've had a rash of accidents with squads. Most of them are back on the road, but this one's toast.
Any questions or comments? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by trustee O'Brien, second by trustee Garner. Roll call, please.
Thorstenson.
Yes.
Ross. Garner.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
5-0.
Motion carries. On to public comment. If anybody would like to step up to the microphone and state their name, please do that. There being nobody, on to executive session. Brian, if you could state the exemption.
Right. We need a roll call vote to go into executive session. This is under exemption number 2 to discuss a collective bargaining agreement.
Right, so is there a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Motion by trustee Balmas, second by trustee Garner. Roll call, please.
Thorstenson.
Yes.
Ross.
Aye.
Garner.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
5-0.
Motion carries. When we come back out, there will be an item that we will vote on.